Spider-Man No Way Home is one of my last anticipated films of 2021. This is a new film, the sequel to The Far From Home, and this takes place during the events, like immediately after the events of Far From Home. So that's pretty much not a spoiler if you haven't seen the second movie. So with Spider-Man's identity now revealed, Peter Parker asks Doctor Strange for help, and when a spell goes wrong, dangerous foes from other worlds start to appear, forcing Peter Parker to discover what it truly means to be Spider-Man. And before I get deeper into my review, I would like for you guys to hit the subscribe button. Subscribe to my channel, helps the channel out so you get notified all the reviews that comes to you. Well, other than that, let's enjoy this journey. The best way to describe this movie is heavy. This film is a heavy, emotional Spider-Man film. The most heaviness I felt in any other Spider-Man movie. This film does a really good job of putting Tom Holland's Spider-Man through the ringer. And going into this film, I wanted Spider-Man to feel some sort of consequences with his actions. I wanted Spider-Man to emotionally suffer. I wanted him to emotionally feel pain, physically, and be downtrodden down to the dirt. I wanted them to deconstruct his character going in. And after watching this movie, this film does a really good job of deconstructing Tom Holland's character to a T that I had to compare it already. BVS. Alright, BVS. This film basically BVS the fuck out of Spider-Man that I did not see it coming. You get a lot of emotion, like hardcore heavy emotion that you haven't experience from any other Spider-Man that's in the MCU. And also you feel the tension between him and Doctor Strange. And one of the compelling things about this movie is this character arc. And I'm going to be much vague. I'm not going to go much deeper, but his character arc in this movie is trying to level two lives, you know, trying the life of Spider-Man and the life of Peter Parker. But when those two collide, he has to deal with the complications and consequences that leads on towards that. And the film does a really good job of developing, giving up a reason and giving out consequences and things. I absolutely appreciate that. It impacts his loved ones. Like, you actually feel the weight of the repercussions of the second movie put weight on his other friends. Doctor Strange is in this movie. If you haven't seen the trailers, you avoided the trailers. Well, I've seen the first trailer. I haven't seen the second trailer. I avoided the second trailer. But if you have seen this first trailer, you will know that Doctor Strange is in this movie. Well, Doctor Strange is in this movie, and he had a good performance. Benedict Cumberbatch had a good performance performing Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange's scenes in this movie was brief, but it was really cool to see him on screen. One thing I really like about his character, there is some tension between Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. I mean, you get the tension in the first trailer, but the film does a really good job of diving real into it. If you've seen the trailer, you know that this film has multiple villains. And I'm going to have to say that the film does a really good job of putting these villains into this movie for fan service and for nostalgia effect, and it all makes sense from a writing standpoint. You actually understand why these characters are there, and the film does a really good job of explaining the rules of the multiverse without it happen to be exposition. One of the most treacherous things when it comes to fan service is sometimes it can be too much of it. Like, I'm looking, like, for a side note, let's look into Spider-Man 3. Yeah, the film tried so hard on the fan service when it came to the Venom character that originally this movie was supposed to be in 2 parts, but Sony really wanted the movie to be in 1 part, so that's why it felt like Venom was shoehorned into the movie. And when I'm watching Spider-Man 3, you know, I felt a little bit overwhelmed because it felt like too many villains was in the movie without any development. And going into the Amazing Spider-Man 2, the same concept. But for this movie, when you're having multiple villains, this film does a really good job of giving out each character's motivation, and also some characters was given a moment to shine. Not all. There are some characters that was put on the bench, just, you know, more like bench warmers. But still, the characters that was essential were still given a good moment to shine that I absolutely loved them every time they were on screen. This film was directed well, and also the dialogue and the script was done well as well. This film was entertaining. It was super cool to see. There was some great dialogue, some great banter, a lot of comic book references, some Easter eggs you can see in this film as well that a lot of fans are going to love. And it all made sense. It all was warranted. It was justified. Yeah, it was justified. The reasoning for the characters to be in here was not shoehorned or for fan service. Like I said before, this is the best performance of Tom Holland. I absolutely love the action sequences in this movie. It has a lot more action than it did in the last two Spider-Man films, Far From Home and Homecoming, and the action sequences was vicious. A little bit more brutality comparing to the other Spider-Man films. And I want to say that Tom Holland really gave out a great physical performance of Spider-Man, and also the film does a really good job of fleshing out Spider-Man's character to the T. And I want to talk about the performances of the certain villains, like Alfred Molina, who returns as Doc Ock. He did a really good job, but I want to say the standout in this whole entire movie was Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin. That's all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say. Visual scale, this film is top notch, but this film does have a little bit of flaws here and there, but that is, well, there's not really much of flaw. I can't really think of much flaws because I was thoroughly entertained, and that's the whole point with this movie. I cried, I was emotional wrecked. This film had a lot more emotion since the Endgame, and I was thoroughly entertained from start to finish. And there are some moments in the film where it had a hard time of gaining momentum, but when it found its momentum, it kept going. Also, I did like in this film where there were some traditional MCU jokes. The jokes, they land hit and miss, but it didn't really have much of the MCU jokes. It had more of emotional moments that I didn't see coming, and it just kept it kept drilling the wrench, on the wound. You got a gunshot wound and you got a drill. And just drill that gunshot wound. And you're just enjoying the pain. And the film doesn't exclude from that. It does a really good job of making you understand and feel the feels when it comes to the Spider-Man character, which I absolutely appreciated. That yes, I cried, I cheered, I was at the edge of my seat, I was thoroughly entertained, and you will be entertained in watching this movie. And there are 2 end credit scenes, so I recommend you stay after the end credits. So yes, this is a well put together Spider-Man film, well directed, the best Spider-Man film, the most heaviest Spider-Man film comparing to the other Spider-Man films that I didn't see coming. I was thoroughly entertained. So yes, I'm going to have to give Spider-Man No Way Home Batman-tastic. That's my highest rating that my channel can offer. And yes, this is thoroughly entertaining at its finest. So that's my review of Spider-Man No Way Home. What are your thoughts on No Way Home? What is it the same as me? Comment below. Let's talk about it. Now, I'll see you guys in my next review. If you like everything you see and you agree, click right here. Join me in the Batman family. I have more Batman-tastic reviews in the way. You have been warned. Till then.